Hey there, this is Ben Freer. I'm an immigration lawyer focused on helping entrepreneurs. Today, in this video, I want to break down the E-2 visa application process for you. I'll share my approach and how I typically guide my clients through the application process. For those of you who aren't super familiar with the E-2 visa, it's a pathway for certain entrepreneurs to come to the United States to manage a business that they've invested in. I won't dive into all the nitty-gritty requirements and the pros and cons in this video. However, if you're new to the E-2 visa, your first task is to get well acquainted with its ins and outs. Once you're comfortable with that, the next step is to make a qualifying investment in a US business. When your business is up and running or about to launch, you can then apply for the E-2 visa. Of course, there's a lot involved in those initial stages, but today, let's focus on the actual application process, assuming that you've done your homework and invested wisely. The first step is to always review the consulate or embassy's requirements. Now, it would be fantastic if all US consulates followed the same process, but unfortunately, that's not the case. For example, some want you to email your application, while others prefer snail mail. A few might even ask you to just show up in person with the application package. Additionally, there are varying page limits to deal with. So before we dive into an application, I make sure to review the specific requirements of the consulate or embassy where we're applying. Step number 2 is to gather the documentation. Before my clients apply for the E-2 visa, I have them compile all the necessary documents listed in my checklist. These documents typically fall into 5 categories. There are personal documents. This includes stuff like passports, marriage certificates, and birth certificates for children. We also gather business formation documents. This covers the articles of organization or incorporation and the operating agreement, which proves that the investor owns at least 50% of the company. We gather source of funds and investment documents. These documents can be quite tedious to compile. We need to show that the money came from a legitimate source. That often involves submitting income-related documents like tax returns, pay stubs, gift letters, property sale records, or loan documents. We also carefully track the money's journey, typically from a personal account to the US bank account, and then we present the bank statements and receipts and invoices that shows how the money has been spent. The E-2 visa requires your business to benefit others beyond just yourself and your family. Therefore, we include a business plan with a 5-year personnel forecast, as well as employee documents like I-9s, W-2s, and 1099s if the business is already running. To qualify for the E-2 visa, you have to show that your business is a real commercial enterprise. To meet this requirement, clients often provide business licenses, marketing materials, IRS EIN notifications, and photos of the business premises. Okay, so in my opinion, step 2 is the hardest part. And then we move on to step number 3, which involves organizing the supporting documents. Once we have all the necessary documents, I carefully organize them according to the consulate's instructions. During the same period in time in which I'm organizing the documentation, I create a supporting brief that explains how my client meets all the E-2 visa requirements. For step number 5, I complete the DS-160 and DS-156E. I provide my clients with questionnaires to fill out the relevant forms. I send these early on in the process, then I fine-tune them once I have all of the information. For step number 6, clients will review and electronically submit their DS-160 forms and pay the associated visa fees. Once I have the DS-160 confirmation pages and visa fee receipts, I follow the consulate's instructions to submit the application package. Typically, this means emailing it, but sometimes we send it by mail or clients take it to the interview in person. Step number 8 simply involves waiting, which is oftentimes the most difficult part of the entire process. We usually have to wait for an invitation to schedule an interview, although sometimes we can set it up right after submission of the DS-160 and payment of the fees. In step number 9, you attend the interview. At the interview, my clients get the chance to explain their business model and personnel projections. If all goes well, you usually get a decision on the same day, unless there are outstanding issues that the officer needs to investigate. So there you have it, the 9 typical steps of the E-2 visa application process that my clients follow. Keep in mind that while this is the standard process, it can vary depending on the specific consulate's instructions. Also, if you're applying for an E-2 change of status, the process will be quite different. To learn more about the E-2 visa, please consider reaching out to one of the many skilled E-2 visa lawyers that you can find across the globe. I hope you found this information to be helpful. If you did, please like this video or share it with someone who may benefit from it. Thanks for your time.